welcome to the channel. I'm Armageddon, glad to have you with me today. Today we're going to play Midweek Magic. Midweek Magic is an event on Magic Arena which runs from Tuesdays through Thursdays. It's a free event, so you can join it for free, and it changes from week to week. This week the Midweek Magic event is Jump In, and Jump In is an exclusive to Arena digital limited format. And we'll take a look at the Jump In page and go over what that is in more detail. But that's what this week's theme is. So this is Jump In, and what Jump In is a limited format in which you pick 2 half decks, and you get a selection of 3 for each half. So 3 for the first half, and then a different 3 for the second half. And you combine them together to make a deck. And the first color determines which color or color pair you're going to be in, and then the second one complements that. And it's a limited format, it's a 40 card deck, but it's less rewarding than a draft, but it's also less expensive to enter. It's only 1,000 gold or 200 gems to enter. And you're guaranteed to get a rare in each half deck. So you'll get 2 rares. You don't get packs as a reward. For winning a game in Jump In, you win at least an uncommon individual card reward. And so it's usually an uncommon, but sometimes you'll get a rare or even a mythic, although of course that doesn't happen very often. But that's how Jump In works. Now let's get back to the Midweek Magic event and jump right in. Let's get started. Before we begin, just to note that as you win games in the Midweek Magic event, you get a reward. And the first 2 rewards, you get an individual card reward that's at least a rare, so that's nice. That's a great way to upgrade your collection of rares or mythics. And then for the third win, you get a mystery cosmetic, and that is usually a card style, since those are the most common cosmetics on Arena. But sometimes you can get an avatar, or a companion, or a card sleeve. I don't think you can get different basic land arts, or at least I've never got them. I'm not sure if they're cosmetics. But anyway, let's jump right in. Now you can look at the Jump In half decks on the Arena website, but we're not going to do that for Midweek Magic. It's really casual. Let's just see what we get, and we'll pick, I guess, at random. Here we go. Alright. So these are some of the mechanics or creature types that are new to the new set Bloomburrow, which was released on Arena yesterday. So there's Threshold, and Threshold cares about having at least 7 cards in your graveyard, and that enables your Threshold cards. So the feature card, for example, on this half deck is the Night Whorl Hermit, and as long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you've achieved Threshold. The Hermit gets +1/+0, so just 2 power, and can't be blocked. So that's that mechanic. Bats is simply black-white bat creature types and cards that synergize with the bats. There's no specific mechanic for bats, except that they care about you either gaining life or losing life on your turn, and that will trigger some of your bat effects or synergies. Exploring, I'm not sure what this is supposed to represent. There's no you don't explore in Bloomburrow. Explore's mechanic where you look at the top card in your deck, and if it's a land, you put it into your hand, and if it's not a land, you can either keep it on top or put it into your graveyard. Although there were Explore cards in another recent set, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, so that might be what the bulk of the cards are green cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan that explore, and then the featured card just happens to be a Manadork from Bloomburrow. But I think let's try a deck that features some of the synergies or mechanics from the new set. And I think we'll try, let's go with Threshold. We might be able to get another packet that offers more graveyard synergies, which would work well with Threshold. Let's see what we get. So we'll take Threshold. Okay. So nothing that specifically works with... Actually, no, that's not true. If Exploring is what I think it is, you can put cards into your graveyard with your Explore cards. So maybe that's the one to pick. So that'll enable our Threshold cards. We could also go with Blue-Red Otters. And Blue-Red Otters, the creature type is Otters. They're a creature type heavily featured in Bloomburrow. And you have spells that synergize with playing Otters, casting Otter spells, or casting other instants or sorceries. Casting instants and sorceries is a typical blue-red synergy. That could also be good for Threshold, since casting a lot of instants and sorceries, you're putting them in the graveyard. So that could be good. Lizards probably doesn't work as well with Threshold. That cares about damaging your opponent on your turn. That's what the lizards care about. There's no specific mechanic, but they have an effect whenever an opponent loses life, usually on your turn. So, for example, the featured card, the Flamecash Gecko, if when it enters, when you cast it and it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, you add 1 black mana and 1 red mana. So you can either cast another spell with that, or simply activate the Flamecash Gecko's ability, which for 1 in a red you can discard a card to draw a card. So that probably works the least well with the packet we've already taken. So it's probably one of the other two. Otters could be good because that's more blue cards, so that might be the pick. But I also like the idea of exploring. I think we'll go with Otters. So here we go. We've got Threshold Otters. Let's see what cards we have in here. So Eddie Merc Crab, that gets a discount for each instant and sorcery card you have in your graveyard. Eddie Merc Crab is pretty good. Conduct Electricity, an expensive but big removal spell in red. Festival of Embers kind of doesn't work with what we want to do in Threshold because it exiles cards from your graveyard, so that lowers the number of cards you have in your graveyard. That's one of the rares. That's not that exciting. Sometimes, depending on the packet, you get alternate cards, and I think each packet you can get an alternate rare. So I think we would have preferred if we'd got a different rare, like maybe an otter, a rare otter that synergized with other otters or instants and sorceries. But I guess on the bright side, we can use this to cast spells from our graveyard and re-get them, rebuy them. So it's like they have flashback. So that's not terrible. It doesn't work with our Threshold synergies, so we'll have to be careful how much we use that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Bounce spell. This can put cards in our graveyard with Surveil. It has prowess, so it gains extra power and toughness whenever we cast a non-creature spell. What's our other rare? Mind Whisker is useful. Sugarcoat is good removal. Harness Store of Storms is good card advantage. Kindle Spark Duo. Valley Rally is a combat trick, which doesn't really seem like something we would want, but anyway, that's the how they build the packets. Now, Wildfire Howl is a bit odd. You don't see usually many board wipes in Jump In my experience. But this does 2 damage to each creature, and then if you... This is one of the mechanics from Bloomburrow, giving a gift. So if you give a card to your opponent, you let your opponent draw a card. If the gift was promised, that's what that means. That means that you give the gift to your opponent. Then Wildfire Howl deals 1 damage to any target and 2 damage to each creature. So you can destroy all creatures with toughness 2 or less, and then if you give your opponent a card, you can also destroy something with 3 toughness. Here's our other rare. So this must be our threshold rare, Azure Beastbinder. So it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or later. It's got vigilance, so it can attack and stay back on blocks. And whenever it attacks, up to one target artifact, creature, or planeswalker an opponent control loses all abilities until your next turn. And if it's a creature, it also has base power and toughness 2/2 until your next turn. So that can be a useful effect. It sort of debuffs your opponent's creatures, or if they... I don't think there are any planeswalkers in Jump In, because there's only one planeswalker per set nowadays, and they're usually mythic rares. So the mythic rare planeswalker in Bloomburrow is Ral. I forget his exact name, but it's Ral is back. He's an otter, because all of the creatures in Bloomburrow are animals, so Ral has transmogrified into an otter. So I suppose it's possible that Ral could be a replacement rare in the Otters packet. That would have been pretty cool if we got Ral. I'll have to look it up another time. Anyway, so this is our deck. So we'll have to see how we do. We don't have as much red removal spells as I would like. There's just the Conduct Electricity, Wildfire Howl, which, how many of our creatures does that destroy? Beastbinder, no. Bellowing Crier, yes. Dazzling Denial, I don't think we have any birds. Ooh, our Rat Rogue is good, but that gets destroyed by Wildfire Howl. So we don't have any birds, so this isn't as good a counter spell as it would be in a bird deck. Because we counter target spell unless its controller pays 2 mana, but if you control a bird, they have to pay 4 mana, so it's a lot easier to counter a spell even later in the game with Dazzling Denial. Late in the game, this is just a dead card because your opponent can usually pay the 2 extra mana. The Otter tokens from Otterball Antics die to Wildfire Howl. Shoreline Looter dies to Wildfire Howl. Thoughtshucker does not. Coruscation Mage and its offspring die to Wildfire Howl. And Coruscation Mage shows the new offspring mechanic. So what that is you can pay additional mana when you cast this spell. In the case of Coruscation Mage, that's 2 additional mana, and you create a 1/1 token, creature token copy of the card. So if you pay 4 mana, you get the 2/2 Coruscation Mage and a 1/1 token copy, and they both have the same ability, which is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this is fine to get down on turn 2 if you need to get on the board, but it's great if you can wait until turn 4 or later, when you can double your damage output with it. Stormcatch Mentor, no surprise to see here. This is the blue-red Signpost Uncommon for the Otters deck. It's an Otter Wizard. It has Prowess, so when you cast non-creature spells, each time you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1. It has Haste. It's only a 1/1, so it's a little small, but the Prowess could be useful. And it gives your instants and sorceries a 1 mana discount. It also dies to Wildfire Howl. So there's the 3-tree mascot. This is a bit of a bummer that this is one of the cards you get, because it's really not very good. You don't need the mana filtering that it provides in a 2-color deck, because you can spend 1 mana to add 1 mana of any color, and you can only do that once. I guess the reason it's in here is because it has the changeling ability, which means that it is every creature type. So it is both, for our purposes, it's both an otter and a rat. But I don't think we have any spells that specifically synergize with otters or rats. So it's really not that particularly useful. And Sterling Hound also dies to Wildfire Howl. Light Shell Duo does not, Eddie Crab does not. So that's, and then Kindle Spark Duo doesn't, Harnesser of Storms doesn't, Night Whirl Hermit doesn't, Mind Whisker does. So that is a lot of creatures in our deck that die to our own Wildfire Howl. So we'll have to be very careful about when we cast that spell. Anyway, this is the deck, and we'll go over the other cards as we play them. So let's jump into some games and see how we do. Okay. I think we can keep this. Stormcatch Mentor on 2, Kindle Spark Duo on 3. If we hit our 4th land, we can play Coruscation Mage on 4. And then Kindle Spark Duo and Coruscation Mage can burn the opponent out because they deal damage when we cast non-creature spells, or in the case of Kindle Spark Duo, it untaps whenever we cast a non-creature spell, so that we can use its activated ability, which you tap it to deal 1 damage to target opponent. Our only spell is Dazzling Denial, which we won't be able to hold up until turn 5, so this might not be very good. But we're on the play. We'll try it. Opponent also blue-red, so they must have picked otters. Now we have Light Shell Duo. I could wait to play Stormcatch Mentor and just hold up Dazzling Denial. I think it's better to affect the board. Opponent plays their own Stormcatch Mentor. Our downdraft draw. So we can bounce their Mentor for 2 mana because of the discount from Stormcatch Mentor. But then we're not doing anything else, and then they just replay it. Although we could counter it with Dazzling Denial. But our non-creature spells, our instants and sorceries get better after we've played creatures like the Kindle Spark Duel and the Coruscation Mage. So I think we'll get those out first, and then we'll start holding up our instants and sorceries. Okay, so we didn't hit a 4th land for Coruscation Mage. I don't want to trade my Stormcatch Mentor into theirs, and I'm assuming they'll try and protect it with a spell, which we could counter with Dazzling Denial, but we probably still trade since they both trigger prowess, so they'd both be 2/2s. So I don't think we attack into that. We'll try and hit our 4th land here. And we do... what do we discard? Could be Light Shell Duo. I kind of like the Light Shell Duo. It's a big creature for blue-red. It surveils for Threshold, which means we can put more cards in graveyard. Could be Dire Downdraft. But I think I want more spells to go with the Coruscation Mage and the Kindle Spark duo. So I guess it is the Light Shell duo. I could play the Coruscation Mage without paying its offspring cost, but I think we'll hold up our instance. Alright. Opponent is tapped out. So I could attack with Stormcatch Mentor and trade for theirs. Could offer the trade for Bellowing Crier. They're not likely to take it since their Stormcatch Mentor is probably more valuable. Oh, they do make the trade. Well, that's great for me. I'll have to hope they don't have Wildfire Howl. Oh, they have Ral. Oh, and they can see. That sometimes happens in Midweek Magic, is people will just concede if they don't like how things are going because there's no pressure. You can keep playing Midweek Magic as long as you want until you get your 3 wins. You don't even have to get the 3 wins, I guess, if you really don't want to. So Ral is what I would have liked to have got in my Otter packet, Ral Crackling Wit. But I guess the problem with playing Ral here is they don't really have a great way to protect him. His +1 ability creates a 1/1 blue and red Otter creature token of prowess, which actually isn't that bad, since if he has a 1-mana instant or sorcery, he can still trigger it and pretty much block any of my creatures. But he doesn't have any other creatures in play to defend Ral from attacks, so that might be why he didn't have anything else to play. So I'm really lucky that they didn't have Blazing Volley, I guess. Anyway, on to the next one. Oh yes, let's see what our rare reward is. So we get a rare reward. Ooh, and it's a mythic rare. What do we get? Storm Splitter. I'm a bit surprised that this is a mythic rare. It's a 4-mana 1/4 with haste. So the stats are bad. You wouldn't play a 1/4 for 4 mana unless it had a really powerful ability. And I don't think that the Storm Splitter's triggered ability, is that exciting. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter, so you get another 1/4. But that's, again, you're only getting another 1/4. If it had prowess, I think it would be a much better card. But anyway, this goes towards completing our Bloomburrow collection, so can't complain. On we go. We're on the draw this time. What do we think of this hand? Azure Beastbinder. I think we play that on 2 of our Stormcatch Mentors since we just have the Valley Rally. In Valley Rally, you want more creatures on the board anyway. So we'll have to hope we draw cards. You know what I'm surprised we didn't get is we didn't get the card draw spell that gets a discount if you have an Otter in play. That would have been nice. You usually like some card draw in your blue or blue-red decks. Anyway, we'll try this. Our only 1 mana spell in the deck is Shore Up, so we're happy to see a tap land on turn 1. Opponent, black-white. This could be difficult because we don't really have that much great removal. So if they resolve any bats, especially with life gain, it'll be difficult for us to close out the game. So their other packet were rabbits, so they might also go wide. That does mean that Conduct Electricity is likely to have a target for its creature token damage ability. Oh, that is a great rare for the rabbit deck. Whenever one or more tokens you control enter, draw a card. Now that only triggers once each turn, and there are cards. I don't know why opponent didn't attack before casting that spell, because it's a free block for me. I could sugarcoat the Warren Elder, but I think we get another creature down. I really want to hit land 4 so I can play Light Shell Duo. And it has a powerful Anthem effect when you get this class enchantment to level 3 for another 5 mana total, 2 white, 3 generic, giving your creature tokens +2/+2. So that would make any creature token they play get out of reach of Conduct Electricity. Stormcatch Mentor does not discount Sugarcoat, because that's enchanted. Oh, that's rude. Now that opponent has 2 mana up, I don't think I want to block in case they have Combat Trick, which a rabbit deck could easily have. Looks like opponent had something. Alright, we hit our 4th land. That's great. Counterspell could be useful. I haven't seen any black or black-white cards, which I'm assuming are the bats. Again, I'm assuming opponent has a combat trick, so we don't want to block here. They could activate Warren Elder in response, although there's no point because Azure Beastbinder can't be blocked. Alright. There's a bat. Okay. So the Sonar Strike maybe is what they were holding up. So on my turn, what I was thinking about, this is me recording a voiceover after the fact, what I was thinking about is what I was going to play, but I didn't talk through it on the video, which I should have done. Anyway, what I was considering was using my combat trinket, Valley Rally, which gives +2/+0 to your attacking creatures. But if you give a food token to your opponent, then you give one of your creatures first strike. So that's what I was thinking about playing before going to attacks. They don't have mana for their Warren Elder ability. Conduct Electricity is an instant, but I think we want to wait until they play a token. They can't block the Beastbinder. They could double block Light Shell Duo. Oh, they do get to draw a card off my giving them food. So opponent can sacrifice their food token, and I'm guessing that's the only thing that they had were holding priority for, since they didn't cast any spells. So that worked out really well for us. We destroyed all of their creatures. They did draw a card off Caretaker's talent because we gave them the food, so that was a bit of a bummer. So that blocks my Stormcatch Mentor, and it gains life when they attack, although they're not really in a great position to attack. If we turn it into a food with Sugar Coat, then we do an extra 2 points of damage, which would be 2, 6, 7. Oh yes, the Azure Beastbinder can nullify the Moonrise Cleric. So I don't need to sugarcoat it. I could have put the Light Shell duo on top of my deck or on the bottom with Dire Downdraft, but I don't think that's necessary. I think we sugarcoat Waxwing Witness, just because it's a big blocker. Okay, it looks like everyone gets 3-Tree Mascot. 3-Tree Mascot is not very impressive, but it is a good blocker. It blocks my Mind Whisker and my Mentor, even if I buff Mentor with Prowess, unless we can buff it twice. I haven't seen too much token synergy, which is what you would have thought from the rabbits. So now I really want to get Mind Whisker, get Threshold, so Mind Whisker's ability triggers. Or passive ability is active. Opponent is tapped out, so I can easily block here. Land can go to the graveyard, so now we're only 2 cards away. Bellowing Crier would get us 1 card from Threshold. There's not really anything I want to get rid of. It could be Conduct Electricity, although that's one of my few removal spells. Although I do draw a card first, so I could always discard what I draw. And I can still play Sugarcoat. Star Charter. They do trigger Star Charter off the food token, so they can dig for a creature. I don't know why they attacked with the 3-Tree Mascot There are no cards in hand and they're tapped out, so this is just a free block. And they whiff on the Star Charter, so that's lucky. Alright, I don't mind discarding the land with Bellowing Crier. Wildfire Howl kills 3 of my creatures, and I would have to let an opponent draw. I could also target that with my Azure Beastminder, and then I don't have to give opponent a card, but I think losing my creatures just isn't worth it. I might keep Wildfire Howl just in case. I'm honestly fine if they want to trade, even for the Mind Whisker. Getting the Star Charter off the board, because it's such a good value play, is worth losing out on the Mind Whisker's ability. Now we have a target for Carrot Cake. Betting they wish they hadn't traded the Star Charter now, because Carrot Cake gives them the food. They do get to draw a card off Caretaker's talent. Alright, so that gets it a range of Conduct Electricity. I'm honestly surprised they attacked. I will happily make this trade. It also means they can't sacrifice Carrot Cake. And of course they drew Hop to it. Okay. Oh, it's my turn. I thought they triggered that off hop to it, but that was on their turn. This is on my turn. Alright. Well, that rare is now doing them some favors. Alright, now I think we're in pretty bad shape. There goes our evasive attacker. Tree mascot can't block these and it dies to Wildfire Howl, so that's pretty much a dead card in my hand. So I think we're finally going to lose to Caretaker's Howl because opponent finally drew some token creating cards and drew some cards off it and drew black removal, which is a whole lot better than blue removal. So we're going to have an awful lot of trouble pushing damage. If we draw land, we can conduct Electricity and Wildfire Howl, which might put us over the top because we would trigger Prowess twice. Alright. But I think we lose if we don't draw land. We do draw the land. Okay. So let's see here. That'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We lose if opponent has instant speed interaction, but I think this is our only shot at victory, so I think we take it. So if we conduct Electricity and then Wildfire Howl, our creatures get out of range of Wildfire Howl's damage. We do have to let opponent draw a card, which could be... that could be a problem, but there's nothing for it. Okay. Oh, we had to do that at sorcery speed. Well, now we're definitely going to lose, because I forgot that Wildfire Howl was a sorcery. Yeah, that was a big mistake. We needed to cast Conduct Electricity as an instant, so you can cast it during combat, which works as a combat trick with prowess creatures. But the problem is we needed to cast that first to prowess our creatures up, and then cast Wildfire Howl to remove the opponent's creatures, or at least 2 of them. We didn't even need to give them a card, because we just need to cast it to enable prowess. And then we would have done Conduct Electricity, we would have done 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 10 with Wildfire Howl. But because we forgot to cast both spells in our first main phase, we weren't going to do enough damage. So that was a big mistake. Oh well. Let's try again. Alright, we're on the draw. We only have blue mana, but all the cards in our hand are blue or colorless. So I think that's fine. Also, since we're on the draw, we're more likely to draw into a red source. And the Sterling Hound can dig 2 cards deep for a red source. Shoreline Looter also draws and discards. So I think this is fine. Shoreline Looter also can't be blocked, so we can keep attacking in with it. And we just draw a red source anyway. I think we play the Thought Trucker first, then Sterling Hound, then play Shoreline Looter and hold up Long River's Pull on turn 4. With Sterling Hound Surveil, I might just, if I get sorceries, I might just put them in the graveyard for Eddie Crab. And Thought Trucker can block 3-tree Mascot, so apparently 3-tree Mascot is in every deck. Ooh, it's red-white. And it's once again rabbits. No attacks. Mind Whisker is not an instant and sorcery, and it could be very good against opponents' tokens, so I think we keep it on top. We're still going to play Shoreline Looter and hold up Long River's Pull. This implies the 4-mana pump spell. If I block with Thought Trucker, they'll definitely cast it. I don't really want to trade my Sterling Hound for their 3-tree Mascot. But if I make that block, I take at least a bit less damage, and then they're not likely to cast the spell since the 3-tree Mascot would still trade for the Hound. So even though it's not ideal, I think it's the right play. I'd be surprised if they cast it. Rapid Response, I think it's called. They would do 6 damage, but then they'd be down... Oh, they did hit. I'm a bit surprised, to be honest. I am taking 9 points of damage. Now their tokens are 1/1s and not likely to be as effective. We have to get rid of that because that buffs their tokens into 3/1s. Or more if they increase its power, so we counter that. At least we don't have to give them a card. Oh, and that's enough to prompt a concession. Alright. So, that goes to show why you should wait you play your... Oh, I can't see the opponent's graveyard. Okay, well. Anyway, the rabbit response. That's why you should wait to play your mass pump spells. Don't just cast them at your first opportunity. Because you see, the opponent was then counting on the Brambleguard Captain, but we had the counter spell up for it this turn. Whereas if they had simply let the damage go through last turn, they would still have Rabbit Response up this turn and would have been able to attack again and threatened the Rabbit Response. Now, we would have countered it, but that would have meant that we would have let them draw a card. That would mean we would have been able to block one of the 1/1s with our Thought Shucker. But that also would have meant that they would have been able to resolve Brambleguard Captain on the following turn. So even though they pushed a lot of extra damage with Rabbit Response, it was kind of a bad play, I think. You really want to leave those until you can be sure you can either get lethal or put your opponent in basically a losing position, which we weren't yet in. So that's why you have to be careful with playing those. And let's see what our reward is next. Oh. It's a rare from Wilds of Eldraine, but we have all the rares, so that becomes gems. So we get 20 gems. Those can go toward future drafts. Alright, here we go with game number 3. Alright, we're on the play. We don't have double blue for Long Reverse Pull or Eddy Merc Crab. 3-Tree Mascot, very mediocre card, but it might end up proving useful because we can use it to get double blue for Long Reverse Pull. So I think we keep this. We play Beastbinder or 3-Tree Mascot first. I could play Bellowing Crier. I feel like that's something better for when you wanted a land drop. So I think we'll play 3, and there's nothing I want to discard. So I think I'll play the Mascot, since that enables us to maybe cast Long Reverse Pull if we need to. Opponent is black-white. I don't mind discarding Festival of Embers to hit a land. Another mountain. An island would have been better, but as long as we have Mascot, we can still cast Long Reverse Pull. Although not if we play Beastbinder. So I might just hold up the Long Reverse Pull instead of playing the Beastbinder on my turn. Especially if the opponent doesn't play a blocker. They do, and it has Double Strike and Vigilance. So that's going to be a problem. I think we keep the land, because that means we can flash in Eddy Merc Crab. Azure Beastbinder can nullify Strike Force. There's Carrot Cake. I do have 3 mana up. But I honestly don't mind trading Sterling Hound into a combat trick if they block with Strike Force and pump it up. Otherwise it's a trade, which would be great for me. Alright, opponent blocks. That's actually fine, because that could have targeted either my Beastbinder or Shoreline Looter, which are much more valuable attackers. Okay, so I think we get these 2 out so we can start attacking in and hitting opponent. And with Azure Beastbinder debuffing Strike Force, we can also attack with the 2/1s. Life Crew Duo, we can still attack into that. Up to it. Okay, so now we can't attack with the 2/1s. Yeah. Forgot that that isn't unblockable. Well, that was a disaster. Need to pay more attention to my cards. I even read that card several times. Alright, opponent goes to combat. We'll flash in the crab. I think we take 2 here. Oh, gross. Oh, and they hit a bat. Okay. And thanks to Bellowing Fire going in the graveyard, we've enabled Threshold, so Shoreline Looter is a card draw spell now. Oh, we can activate that at instant speed. Problem is, this is the bat that gives Death Touch. Although it's only when, oh well, when you gain life, that's because of Life Creature, they'll definitely be doing that. Well, that was bad. Alright, I don't think we're winning this game. Let's move on. Okay, so here I think we want to hope that the opponent is playing a tokens deck and hold up Wildfire Howl and save the Mind Whisker until after we play that. So, playing that shore up in the last game on my Thought Shugger was a terrible plan, as it turns out. I should have just let them banish it and then held up shore up for the other removal spell. Because the 2-4 really wasn't going to matter that much. Bone Cache Overseer. Well, the good news is that... Oh, I drew another land, is unfortunate. The good news is that squirrels... mostly smaller creatures. Alright, Kindle Spark Duo can block the Bone Cache Overseer, and it doesn't die to Wildfire Howl. I might just fire off Wildfire Howl now, because otherwise the Dray Leader will be able to get out of range. Especially if they're able to put 2+1/+1 counters on it next turn, which they may well be able to do. Spark Duo does 1 damage, either attacking or using its ability, so let's just hold up its ability. Opponent had only 2 cards in the graveyard and no food tokens, so they weren't able to forage. So that was nice. Another land is not ideal. Alright, gotta remember the Beastbinder can be blocked. By low tokens, or the creatures that my previous opponent had. Bellowing Crier, I can discard the mountain, maybe draw some action, so I think we keep that. That honestly was fine, and a good reason why to wait until your second main phase to cast your spells, because if I'd played Bellowing Crier first main phase, Oh, and they can save. So as I was saying, if I'd played Bellowing Crier first main phase, they could have killed it with their Downwind Ambusher, and that would have been a bit of a blowout. So as it wasn't really very effective. All it did was prevent the Beastbinder from doing any damage, and since it was only going to be 1 damage, that hardly mattered. Alright, so opponent obviously felt that they misplayed that and didn't want to continue, which I can certainly understand. Alright, so let's see what our mystery cosmetic is. It's a fancy card style from March of the Machine Aftermath for the Death Rattle Oni, which has not really seen constructed play. So there we are. But that's pretty cool card style anyway. And so that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to comment if you thought there were any plays I could have made differently. I certainly noticed a few spots where I could have made some different plays. And please like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and hope to see you again next time. Thanks again. Bye.